Coming up on Let's Get to the Points.
Tonight, we're headed to Kenya, East Africa on Points and Miles.
We were lucky. We saw 2 different cheetah hunts. We saw one that was successful and one that failed. The failed one was for a gazelle. That gazelle outsmarted the cheetah by running zigzag. I was happy as a vegetarian, but probably not for the cheetah.
Elena, how did you get to Nairobi?
So my net cost was about 300,000 points for the 3 of us, round trip.
Wow.
So that's only 100,000 points per person.
So, Elena, which animals did you see out there when you were on safari?
We saw zebras, including a zebra that was just born moments earlier, and you still see the placenta on the baby. It's just a beautiful sight.
If you don't want to pay cash, there are some points options available to you.
If it's a cash fare, I've been earning Turkish smiles.
And what about the smiles?
Oh, bitch.
You got the miles, but did you get the smiles?
And now, let's get to the points. She loves making family travel first class without the first class cost. It's serene. For him, no travel style is off limits and no destination is too far. It's Miguel. And he loves to use his credit card points and miles for unforgettable experiences in first class and beyond. It's Mitch Shannon.
Tonight, you're going to need a couple of items for our show. First, you're going to need some binoculars. And then, I don't know, maybe your American Express card, because we're headed to Kenya, East Africa on Points and Miles tonight. This is another episode in our Destination Points and Miles guide. Kenya is home to the Masai Mara, one of the best places on earth to see the big 5, the lions, leopards, elephants, rhinos, and buffaloes. Oh my, in their natural habitat. It's a surprisingly good use of points like flying Qatar Airways Q Suite or using Flying Blue, Avios, or United miles for one-way redemptions to Nairobi. Miguel's got all of that and more on how to get there with your flights tonight. Plus, we're going to share the itinerary that you're going to need and all the tips to make sure you have got the perfect Instagram content for your trip. And to help us plan our journey and pictures, we have Elena from the Instagram YouTube channel Monkey Family Adventures. And as always, we invite you to join in our conversation online by leaving a comment below. Elena, I just want to put this video up on the screen just for a minute here. I want to know, how much fun was it feeding the giraffes, and are they as tame as they appear to be?
They are not that tame. You have to be careful if you don't have food. Our friend that went with us, he got smacked.
Oh.
The giraffe was not happy because if you fake that you have food in your hands, but you actually don't, they do get mad. So have food and don't lie to the giraffe.
Did you go to Giraffe Manor?
It is close to the Giraffe Manor. They're actually the same giraffes. So if you want to save money and not pay, the $1,000 at Giraffe Manor, you can just go to the giraffe feeding and it's only $15 per person.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Wow,
This is the best way to start off a show.
They're the same giraffes?
Same giraffes. You actually see the giraffes go back and forth. The manor is just right there. And then they go over there and they come back. It's the same giraffes. You're not getting any different giraffes.
This is the best tip. You're right, Serena.
And are you feeding them lettuce?
It's like little pellets that they give you. I'm not sure exactly what's inside, but the giraffes love it.
Yeah, that Giraffe Manor place has a monopoly on super expensive nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not nothing, right? But it's just so expensive.
Well, they market, if you want to have breakfast with the giraffes, if you're eating breakfast inside and you see this giraffe leaning inside the dining room and having breakfast for you. I mean, it looks really cool. It does, but the prices are scary.
They really leverage social media the right way because people saw this at some point, became viral. Now everybody wants to do it, and out there paying these insane amounts of money just to get the same content. If you really just want to feed the giraffe, pay $15 instead and you're feeding the same giraffes.
Yes.
I think that's what I would do too.
All right, so I'm making notes here, aggressive giraffes for my trip when I plan on going here. So I'm looking at your profile here, and one of the things I see that I am highly jealous of is you guys have already retired at such a young age, and now you travel on credit card points and miles. What a great life.
It is a great life. I cannot complain at all. I'm only still in my 30s and it's amazing to be able to do this. It's because of my daughter and just wanting to have this freedom to do what I want. Time is limited and I want to shift the time to something I care about. Credit card points really helped with this in terms of travel. There's no way you can travel like this all over without the points. So that really helped a lot. And opening the Instagram account and creating it is just to inspire people, whether it's to travel or look into financial independence and look to see what's important in your life.
I love that you mentioned time because that's something that is always on my mind. You know, I don't know why it is. I've had a couple of events in my life, but it's very important that the only thing that we all have is time. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's a really important thing.
Time is limited. I read a book, 4,000 weeks. It's kind of scary, but you really only have 4,000 weeks in your life for the average time. So treasure that.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you read books, Elena. Miguel wants to know if there's a movie version.
No, I was going to say we started on such a high note, paying $15 instead of $1,000. And now I'm like, how many weeks do I have left?
I know. Let's bring it back up. Let's bring the mood back up.
So are you a full-time traveling family or do you have a base somewhere where you kind of go back to every now and then?
We have a base. We're based in the Bay Area. So we are here pretty much like a normal family, ignoring the retired part. My daughter goes to school every day like other kids and do activities. And then we travel around the school schedule. So summertime, winter break, Thanksgiving break, spring break. Otherwise, we're here.
And how many countries has your little monkey been to so far?
Little Monkey has traveled to about 25 countries now. She's 8 years old. So that's great since I didn't travel outside the country until I was 12 and my husband 18 years old.
Still better than us. I think we were in our 20s. Right? The three of us.
I know. I remember.
We were in our 20s when we traveled outside of the country.
Time to book another trip.
Well, we only have a couple of weeks left and we got to book this trip to Kenya. So how are we going to get there on flights, Miguel?
There are a lot of ways to get to Kenya on points and miles. There's only one nonstop option for North America. So for most of the flight options that you'll have when redeeming points and miles to get to Kenya, you'll probably go through Europe, the Middle East, or other places in Africa first. The only nonstop option you have from the US into Kenya is Kenya Airways, and they have a route from New York JFK Airport into Nairobi. You can book that using either Air France, KLM Flying Blue Miles, or through Virgin Atlantic, since they're all part of SkyTeam. Economy starts at about 40,000 points one way, and business class is steep at 140,000 points in business class. That is both with Air France and with Virgin Atlantic. So if there is a transfer bonus into any of those programs, that's when you want to take advantage of this. The other SkyTeam options that you have is flying either Air France or KLM through their combined Flying Blue program. They have many US gateways and you would have a layover in either Amsterdam or Paris. With that program, you can add a free stopover in Amsterdam or Paris, so you can turn this into a 2-in-1 before continuing on to Nairobi. Again, the rates for those start at about 40,000 points one way in economy, or about 100,000 point range one way in business class to Nairobi. The options with One World are going to be British Airways or Qatar, and British Airways has very high surcharges and taxes, so we don't really recommend that one. If you can get on Qatar, that's going to be the way to book. If you're using American Airline miles, economy starts at about 40,000 points one way, and business class to the African region with American Airlines in business class would be about 75,000 points if you can find that saver level fare. We haven't seen a lot of award availability on Qatar Airways business class through American Airlines, so if you want to guarantee that you're flying Qatar Airways business class, you'll need a plan far in advance. Qatar Airways opens up their award availability calendar 361 days in advance. You can book directly through Qatar Airways Privilege Club from the US all the way to Nairobi for 42,500 in economy one way, or 85,000 points in business class one way. But it is very competitive, so you'll have better chances planning far in advance. Qatar Airways opens up their award calendar about 30 days before American Airlines. So that's another incentive to book directly with them instead of waiting for American Airlines to open up the award calendar for Qatar Airways award flights. Moving on to Star Alliance, you'll have a lot more options. You have Lufthansa with its hub in Frankfurt. You have Turkish Airlines with its hub in Istanbul. Then you also have Ethiopian, which has a hub in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, which is pretty close to Kenya. One of your better options to book some of these Star Alliance flights is probably going to be Air Canada's Aeroplan program, program starting at about 55,000 points one way in economy or about 90,000 points one way in business class. If you have United miles, you might be able to book some of these same flights starting at about 40,000 points one way economy or about 88,000 points one way in business class. You should be able to book these with other Star Alliance programs like Avianca Life Miles. Then you also have ANA where you can now book one-way flights. So that's another program worth looking into. And it's saving the best for last. Well, maybe not the best because I already mentioned Qatar, but you have a couple other airlines based in the Middle East, Emirates and Etihad, where they're not part of any alliance, but you can also book with points and miles. You have Emirates, which has its own Emirates Skywards program, and you can book that starting at 62,500 miles in economy or 157,000 miles in business class. The good thing is you can transfer from any other flexible currencies into the Emirates Skywards program, but they do have high fuel surcharges. And Etihad, you can actually book Etihad with either American Airline Miles, their own Etihad Guest program, or with Air Canada. So that is another good airline to look into, especially if you're able to combine flying the apartment into Abu Dhabi and then continuing on in business class to Nairobi. The rates for Etihad start at 40,000 points in economy one way and 75,000 points one way in business class. Elena, how did you get to Nairobi?
Yes, so one of the ways you mentioned was Turkish Airlines. That's the way I did. I didn't use the miles to book through the program. I saw a great cash fare deal that was actually posted by Find Flights for me. It was too good to pass up. So the way I went about booking it is going through the Amex travel portal. I have the business platinum card that gives you a 35% rebate for business and first class flights. So I used the points to cover the Turkish Airlines flights, business class round trip from Montreal to Nairobi. Afterwards, you get 35% of the points back. So my net cost was about 300,000 points for the three of us round trip.
Wow.
So that's only 100,000 points per person. I did have to pay $150 cash upfront because I didn't have all the points at the time. So I wiped out the entire membership rewards account, but it was worth it. And I did have to position to Montreal from San Francisco. I used Air Canada Aeroplan points, 42,000 points for the three of us to get to Montreal. And then from there, Montreal to Istanbul layover and then to Nairobi and then round trip. So afterwards, same thing, Nairobi to Istanbul to Montreal. And since this was a spontaneous booking, I went from Montreal down to Florida for a Disney cruise.
Oh my gosh. The freedom of financial independence.
Yeah. So you mentioned the 35% rebate and something about that. Yeah, it's true that with a 35% rebate, when you have the business platinum, you will be getting a net, I think it's about 1.54 cents per point, which is pretty good. You do need the full points up front and then you get the rebate after that. So if you don't have all the points, you can use all the points that you have, but then you will have to finish paying the rest of that ticket with cash. So yeah, that's good to know.
The best part is that you still earn miles on these fares. So even though you use points to basically pay for this flight, you're earning miles for that program. So I earn miles for Turkish Airlines. Previously, I actually status matched from my AA Platinum Pro status to Turkish Airlines because I knew I was booking this fare and this round trip fare was able to help me secure Star Alliance Gold for the next 2 years. So that part was the cherry on top right there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All the stars aligned. Elena, what was the cash fare for this flight?
It was about $5,500 for the three of us. That's a very good deal when you have round trip business class all the way to Africa.
Oh my gosh, for sure.
Yeah, especially because on some of these programs where you're redeeming points or miles to get there, you're still having to pay a few $100s out of pocket for each one of these flights. And when you multiply that times 3, you would probably be still paying maybe like $1,000 worth of taxes, if not more, for a redemption like this. So I think that was a pretty good deal. I like finding some of these cheap cash fares. And a lot of people are very anti-cash because they're like, no, I'm into this so I can save cash and I only want to use points to book my travels. But when there is a cheap cash fare, whether it's economy or business class or what have you, think about booking that through either the Chase travel portal or the American Express travel portal. If you have the business platinum, it could be a really good deal. If you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, do the math because it might make sense for you to upgrade from the Sapphire Preferred to the Sapphire Reserve if you're doing one of these cash bookings and want to pay with points.
So, Elena, you had mentioned in there that you had earned Star Alliance Gold status. Now, I used to have it, but not anymore. But I think one of the benefits of that is having lounge access, right? That's what's great about Star Alliance Gold status.
Yes. With the Star Alliance Gold, you get lounge access. You only can bring one guest in. So I have my husband and my daughter. So my husband is stuck out there and I'll bring my daughter with me, feed her. And if she's good and happy, that's good. The other perk is that the lines, when I was in Maldives and we booked Singapore Airlines economy to leave Maldives, the lines are crazy. But for us, I took out the membership. I had the Turkish saved with the Star Alliance Gold logo on there, and I show it to the security person and we zip right through. This saves significant time, same on immigration. Even though I had an economy ticket, I had the Star Alliance Gold printed on it, and that helps with boarding, immigration, everything. You just feel relaxed.
I had the same experience in Taiwan with Star Alliance Gold. Getting into the EVA lounge with my little one, and there was ice cream in there. She loved it. And getting into the gold check-in line was really helpful too, because the regular line was really long. But I have a question. Do you have to add your Turkish number to your ticket in order to get this access?
Yes. So all the Star Alliance flights I book, if I want to get that Star Alliance Gold benefits, I have to add my Turkish number. And if it's a cash fare, I've been earning Turkish smiles.
And what about the smiles?
Oh, Mitch.
Miles and smiles.
You got the miles, but did you get the smiles?
That's a good one. Talking about smiles, Turkish Airlines has great service. They have an onboard chef, so they roll around a dessert cart, and it's pretty nice seeing all the dishes in front of you, so you don't have to imagine what exactly you're getting, and you can just pick what you want there, and they describe all the dessert for you. The flights itself, we didn't get the best business cabin flights. They're still all lie flat, so that's all that matters for us. I'm going to be an outlier here where they had 3 seats in the middle, and I actually enjoyed for the 3 of us sitting together because I can actually see my husband and my daughter for once. It was nice, and we can still lie flat and enjoy all the business amenities. They have really cute kids amenities that they gave to Monkey, and kids headphones, kids personalized socks and eye masks. So that was pretty nice.
Yeah, this is the second time we hear about these business class amenities for kids. And I'm like, maybe I need to take my kids on Turkish. And, I've been wanting to take advantage of their route eating into Mexico. Turkish flies into Mexico City and Cancun. They have a stop in Cancun. That's easier for me to reposition to. I'm liking Turkish.
You're not going to like the 100-year-old bread they give you. I'll tell you that. I don't know why they hand that out. Did you get that, Elena?
I did not get that.
Anyway, remember with the cart, my biggest tip, can I have a little of everything, please?
Another great thing about the Turkish Airlines flight is in the Istanbul layover, they have a lot of good food, good showers, but more importantly, if you can find a masseuse guy, you can get 15 minutes free massage right there. And so it's a nice little relaxation before you continue on your flight.
That's really nice. I missed the masseuse when I was there.
If you want to be notified when we find good cash fares, you should join our Elevate group. Recently, we posted about a one-way flight between Jakarta and Seattle in Qatar Airways business class with Q suites going to Seattle from Doha. And that was about $1,000 one way. As an example, if you were to book this with the Chase travel portal and you had the Chase Sapphire Preferred, that would be only 80,000 points. And if you had the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it would only be 67,000 points. And then that would be without any cash on the side because you're already booking through the travel portal. So if you want to join Elevate, we'd love to have you. Check out the show notes on how to join. Welcome to our online community, Elevate. Here's everything you can look forward to when you join.
First, you'll unlock access to our video classroom with over 4 hours of videos led by us. These are designed to help you level up your strategy from earning points to getting business credit cards and even how to redeem for maximum value. We cover it all. We'll even walk you through real life examples of how we've used points and miles ourselves.
You'll learn our top tips, tricks, and strategies for using credit card rewards to travel for free. Whether that's flights, hotel stays, or luxury upgrades, we show you exactly how to choose the right cards, time your applications, and take advantage of the best offers available.
You'll also get downloadable resources like templates, cheat sheets, and guides, covering everything from earning elite status to navigating flight redemptions and more.
Our best feature is our private community chat. This is where the best daily deals are shared, including mistake fares, flash promos, and hidden opportunities. You'll learn from us and other members our wins and mistakes and stay ahead of what's working right now in the Points of Miles world.
And finally, each month we host our exclusive Elevate Masterclass. This is a live session where our community comes together to share updates, data points, and the latest strategies we're all working on.
We're excited to welcome you to Elevate,
Your next level journey in Points and Miles.
And it all starts right here. Okay, so one of the things that usually could happen with some of these trips is they don't always go smoothly when it comes to tickets and the way that they're issued. So did you have any issues when you booked through the travel portal?
One thing about booking travel portal, though, as great as it is to use your points, you are going through a third-party agent. So in our case, there was a scheduled flight change for Turkish Airlines, and somehow the tickets just disappeared in terms of the ticket numbers. My husband called in to see what was going on, and it turns out the tickets had to be reissued. It was pretty nerve-wracking because we were leaving in about a week, and luckily the tickets got reissued after a day. But definitely double check your tickets when you book through a third party just in case something happened.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when you're booking through Amex Travel or Chase Travel, you're not booking directly with the airline. So before you go in and check into the airport, that ticket is controlled by the travel agent or that third party, in this case, Chase Travel or American Express Travel. And the airline's going to send you back to your travel agent. You might not be able to make some of these changes, even if you're logging into their website and trying to manage your booking. But if you have any issues, you're going to have to go through that third party, resolve the issues. Now, once you check into the airport, the airline takes ownership of that ticket, and they'll be able to resolve any issues with delays or cancellations. But up until then, you're at the mercy of the travel agent or the third party.
Yeah, and I think Turkish Airlines in particular is notorious for having to reissue tickets. So as Mitch likes to say, you always want to garden or nurse your reservations just to keep an eye on them to make sure that they're still there.
Or just book last minute and you're leaving tomorrow. So.
Or do the Miguel way. So I am planning a safari trip for my family. It will either be in 2027 or 2028. I don't know, but it is in the back of my mind. And I've thought about how I want to book, and I do have a pretty good idea. I would want to book the Qatar Q Suite Quad all the way to Africa. And this is how I would do it. We often see transfer bonuses to Avios. And with all the Avios currencies, you can transfer between the airlines. For example, I can fly from San Francisco to Doha to Nairobi or Kilimanjaro. Qatar usually only has 2 seats at the saver rate. I would book 2 seats at the saver rate of 85,000 points each, and then 2 seats at the flexi rate of 170,000 points each. That's 4 seats total. And assuming, and we see these a lot, assuming we have a 30% transfer bonus, I'll only need to transfer over 394,000 points to Avios. That means my average cost per ticket in business class in the quad would be only 99,000 points per person. I think that is a reasonable rate to fly comfortably for that many hours in such a great product. If the transfer bonus was only 20%, I would still only be paying a rate of 107,000 points per person, and I would not hesitate to book that. And there are also Avios booster options if you don't have enough points, and we mentioned that in our previous episodes, like our Southeast Asia destination guide. Another way I could fly is on Condor Airlines, and I would use Alaska miles. For example, I could fly from San Francisco to Frankfurt to an airport called Mombasa in Kenya. That's airport code MBA. And that would cost 110,000 Alaska miles. And I can add a stopover in Frankfurt if I wanted to. And then my other option, from the West Coast, I could go from San Francisco to Paris or Amsterdam, and then on to Nairobi on Air France or KLM, and pay 115,000 points per person. Someone in our Elevate community just posted she was able to book the quad for her family. So even if it may be a hard ticket to find, it's completely possible possible, especially when you're planning in advance.
To get to Kenya, you do need to apply for an ETA. It's like a visa, but don't be like me and apply too early because it expires in 3 months. So mine expired 2 days after I was about to enter, and I did not realize that. But luckily I got through. So you can plan everything in advance, but just apply in time where you have the expiration after your entry date. And it was $30 at the time when I applied for the ETA. It's fairly easy to apply. You just need a photo and go through the flights that you booked to enter and the hotel that you're staying at.
How long did that process take for the approval?
So when I estimated a longer time to get the approval, I didn't expect for the approval to happen the next day. That is what threw me off and why my expiration date is cutting it very close.
After you arrive in Kenya, and if you want to go on a safari, I think that you also have to take a flight to your safari camp. Is that right?
Yes, you have to take a bush plane straight into the bush. You leave from the smaller airport, the Wilson Airport. I booked through Air Kenya. There is another one that's Safari Link. It's pretty much those two airlines. For Air Kenya, I booked myself was about $400 round trip, and they take you straight into the bush, into Mara North Conservancy, which is where we were staying at. The plane is small, so be prepared for that if you have any fears of flying. The view is very nice though. You're flying and you can see down into the Masai Mara River. You see just the fields and the wild out there. So it is very nice.
Was that $400 per person or total for the three of you?
It is $400 per person. Child rate is a little less than that.
So Mitch, how does the bush plane sound to you?
I'm just going to enjoy her footage. That's all I really want to do.
No bush plane for you.
No bush plane. I don't know about that. What was it like though, getting on that? There's no security. There's no nothing, right? You just basically walk on and get on it?
Pretty much. You check in your luggage and then you wait for boarding and you go on this small plane. A little bit like the seaplane transfers in Maldives that you take, except this one you're going through the safari views.
And there are propellers?
There are propellers, I believe. Don't remember that part, so maybe don't have that.
I would hope there would be propellers.
I think so.
Mitch doesn't like propeller planes.
Okay.
It's the thing, yeah. PTSD, one day we'll talk about the story, but not today.
Elena, were you able to use points at all for these flights, or are these cash fare flights?
These were cash fare flights. There were no points booking options that I was able to find to go into the Masai Mara. You can also drive to Masai Mara from Nairobi. It's about 5 hours one way. I didn't want to do the drive as it's a long drive and we have limited time. So the plane ride itself is about 1 hour, depending on if they stop in another area of Masai Mara or a nonstop flight.
Another option, if you want to do a self-drive, I did that in Uganda where I rented a car and I drove myself around the country for a week. They do have that option in Kenya as well. The rates depend on the vehicle that you have, but if you're going with a group of 3 or 4 people, it could make sense for you to do that instead of paying $400 round trip for a flight. If you're not comfortable driving, the other thing you can do, you can add a driver, and I think the rate in Kenya is about 40 euros per day, and that will cover the driver's lodging, their food, all of that. So if you want to enjoy this road trip around Kenya, you can hire a car and have your family drive around the country. I think the distance between some of those parks and Nairobi airport is about 7 hours. What I did in Uganda was I drove around maybe a few hours a day. I stayed at different places throughout the week. And, I enjoyed that type of trip as well. So that is another option if you don't want to take one of these, what are they called? Bush planes? I never even heard of those.
Miguel, I have to say that is probably one of my favorite special editions that you did because it was so authentic. And I really like seeing you going on this trip, especially your solo travel. And can I just share a little thing? My favorite thing that you did is there's this one shot that you have of your car driving and you get it both ways. And I don't think a lot of people know this because no one knows the story, but you shot that twice, right? So you drove by and then you backed up and then you shot it again, right?
I don't know if I showed that at the end of the video, behind the scenes type But yeah, I even had some people pull over because they thought I needed help. And I was like, no, I'm just shooting. I'm getting some content. I'm good.
The man dedicated to his craft. I love it. That was a great job, Miguel. That's episode number 32 if you want to watch it. And we're actually going to put the link in right here. So Miguel will point to the link up top. It's in one of those places up there is where you can go watch it. Watch it. It's a really good episode.
Elena, during my trip in Uganda, there was not a lot of points property, especially around some of these national parks where they had the safaris and these game drives. So I use booking.com a lot. But where did you stay when you went on this trip to Kenya?
For Nairobi, luckily there is a Hyatt there, and I am a Hyatt globalist. I was able to book Hyatt Regency Nairobi Category 2 hotel for about 17,000 points for the 2 nights. It's a good hotel, good service, club lounge. They upgraded me to a junior suite. Their breakfast is pretty good. So a nice little stay if you are transiting or just visiting Nairobi for a little bit.
Hold on. I just want to say something. Being a Hyatt globalist is not a requirement, but it seems like people that come on the show are all globalists. That's not a requirement for you to be on the show.
It's not on the job application.
A lot of people are into it. You know, it must be for a reason, right? Hyatt globalists has good benefits.
Especially the breakfast, including for the children. So that's great for families.
Does this hotel have a club lounge?
Yes, there is a club lounge and there's evenings hors d'oeuvres, just like most of the other club lounge, but it is not like Grand Hyatt Abu Dhabi. So don't expect anything like that.
You know,
the basic club lounge.
So you spent 2 nights in Nairobi. Did you think that was enough?
Yes, it is enough. Nairobi, a quick stay to see the main things, but the main attraction is the safari. So I would recommend the time for the safari. For the safari, there are not a lot of points properties. The one that I looked into was Mahali, Missouri, using Virgin Atlantic points. It is 320,000 points for 2 nights. It is on the Alair Conservancy, a private land. It looks really nice and I really wanted to go there, but they charge $950 per night for the child to stay in the same tent, and that didn't make sense for us. So for us, what we did was book a cash fare safari lodge, still in a private land. It is located in the Mara North Conservancy. The reason why I'm emphasizing on the private land is because you can go off-roading versus public properties like JW Marriott. JW Marriott is a public land, so you cannot go off-road. You cannot get close to the animals like you do in the conservancy. The lodge that we book is Offbeat Nadoto. We stay there for 5 nights. I leverage a promo where you stay 4 and pay for 3. It covers everything, all your meals, game drives, activities like walking safaris, archery. The key thing about the meals is that even if it's not the best food, it is the experience. You get bush breakfast where you go out there, the setup during the game drive, and my view is a water hole in front of me with zebras coming and going, drinking water, and that's your bush breakfast.
Oh, wow.
It is magical, and there's no other breakfast that can compare to that experience. You also have lunch back at the lodge. That's all included. You have afternoon tea and you have sundowners. Sundowners are also during your afternoon game drive when you're out there. And they're also very unique. One time we're out there having a sundowner and it's with the hyenas. They're just right there behind you walking around and we're just out there eating our chips and drinking soda. It's just surreal. Dinner is a 3-course meal. It includes international cuisines. I did ask if they have Kenyan food, and on the last night, they provided a Kenyan buffet with the Kenyan cuisine and a special dance for us. The lodge includes the morning game drive, the afternoon game drive, and if you're up for it, you can go for an evening game drive as well. It is a private vehicle for us if you have at least 4 people. Otherwise, is about $250 per day for a guaranteed private vehicle. A typical day with the lodge that they provide is still customizable. They'll ask you what time you want to be wake up at. However, it is still for a safari. So if you're not a morning person, you better get used to it because morning game drives start around 6 a.m. You finish with the bush breakfast out there and you come back to the lodge and it's around 12 to 1 p.m. You have your lunch and you have your afternoon rest. Then you have your afternoon tea around 4 p.m. and the afternoon game drive starts again at 4:30 p.m. Sundowners around 6:30 p.m. and then you are back at the lodge around 7 p.m. and have dinner. and then you start again. So you would feel tired if you are not resting in the afternoon.
That sounds amazing. Now, were there a lot of activities for kids and for your little monkey to keep busy in between game drives?
Yes. The time in between game drives are pretty short, but they have local activities where a local Masai Mara woman came and taught Monkey how to bead the different bracelets and necklace. Otherwise, we try to tell her to rest up because you're about to go on a long game drive. Really, the main attraction is the game drive, which she loved and did really well in. I was worried about it because you don't have toilets out there, so be prepared. You are going out in the bush. I think they call it the bush toilet. And you will see spiders just in the bushes when you're going, but the driver will find you a safe spot. That would be the part that Monkey did not like.
Oh, yeah. So, Mitch, no bush planes for you. Are you okay with bush toilets?
You know, when nature calls, nature calls. So find the best bush.
There's no Lilabo bushes out there.
The lodge includes walking safaris if you're interested. We did a walking safari. Monkey did it too. For the walking safaris, they include the ranger who comes with you on the walking safari and guides you the different things. You see different viewpoints from the ground versus if you're in the car, just the little things on the ground that you step on, and there actually was different poop that the ranger can tell you what animal it is. So it's pretty interesting.
Oh, wow.
And then you have zebras out there just staring at you like, what are you doing? That's another activity for kids. Although Monkey got tired, so she got in the car and got a private game drive with the driver herself while we continued the walk, and she loved it. She got the one-on-one attention. Another activity is during the sundowners time. The driver made their own archery tools, and they let Monkey do archery out there in the fields, out in the wild, and that's just amazing. Another activity that you can do, you do have to pay, is $30 per person, is visiting a Masai Mara village. They do a dance for you. You jump as high as possible because that's how they determine who gets to pick first on the wife. They teach you how to make fire with these sticks, and you see their living situation and just experience a bit of that part of life.
I don't know if I could do that. I'd like to do that, but then I don't want my wife to think that I'm trying to find a new wife with my jumps. So I'd probably have to just do little short jumps.
There's no way you can jump as high as they do.
They practice.
It's really
And they're
high.
tall, right? They're really tall, right?
So, Elena, which animals did you see out there when you were on safari?
You see a lot of animals. My favorite is elephants. So the driver knew that and definitely took me around to different elephants viewing sites with the baby elephant, nursing on the mom. You see cheetahs. And for us, we were lucky. We saw 2 different cheetah hunts. We saw one that was successful and one that failed. The failed one was for a gazelle. That gazelle outsmarted the cheetah by running zigzag versus the cheetah run straight. It got away. I was happy as a vegetarian, but probably not for the cheetah. The successful one, it was a group of gazelle. And because when it's a group, they kind of don't really think for themselves and they kind of follow. So they all run the same straight line. And that's when the cheetah got the gazelle. We saw zebras, including a zebra that was just born moments earlier. And you still see the placenta on the baby. We stay there just watching for the zebra to take its first steps to stand, because out there you really need to be able to get up quick if you want to survive. We saw leopards. The leopard was just walking very close in front of our car. We saw lions multiple times in different situations, whether they're mating, sleeping, eating, or just 3 brothers hanging out on the rock, chilling out there. It's just beautiful sight. You do have to be prepared in terms of blood smell if you get close to a kill. There was one scenario where there was a baby giraffe and a lion, and you can just smell the fresh blood from the baby giraffe. So be prepared for that. You do see kills out there. We've seen hyenas feeding on a hippo. We've seen hyenas and lions and jackal feeding on an eland. There's just crazy different sightings. You have scary moments like that, and you have beautiful moments with the baby birth and the elephants. I really love the elephants. You see giraffes. You see many different animals out there. One thing though about Masai Mara is that if you want to see rhinos, you probably won't be able to see rhinos there. So what we did to complete the big 5 is see the rhinos in Nairobi National Park.
The circle of life. Serena, I know you like to prepare for trips by reading. I like to watch YouTube videos or maybe movies that were shot at the destination that I'm going. So as you're planning this trip to go on a safari, I recommend a movie that you absolutely must watch. That is The Lion King.
And you must play the soundtrack in your car for a week leading up to your flight. There's also like many variations of Lion King. There's the live action. There's Mufasa.
Nope, there's one. Original. You know, the original Lion King, I was in elementary when it came out. So I remember they took us out to the cafeteria back when they pushed those VHS and TV combo carts. And we watched The Lion King in the cafeteria when I was in elementary school. So I hold that movie near and dear to my heart. I loved going on safari because, you know, I would see a warthog. I'm like, oh, there's Pumbaa. I didn't call it a warthog. I call it Pumbaa. So
we have hyenas at the Oakland Zoo, and I think of the Lion King when I go, but I would much rather go on safari and think of the Lion King.
Yeah, once you go on a safari, it's hard to go back to a zoo. It's just different seeing them in their natural habitat, and you know that they're just living their best life. And now if you kind of think about the zoos, I know zoos mean well and they have a lot of programs to preserve these animals. It's just a little sad to see them kind of locked up, you know. That to me kind of seems like they're in prison. So I'd rather go on a safari.
I totally agree. The safari in Masai Mara, especially in Mara North, where it's private land, many times for the sightings, we were the only vehicle there, and it's just magical. You're just out there in plain lands. We drove through a herd of African buffaloes, just young and old, all of them together, seeing all of that, having elephants all to ourselves, a cheetah just sleeping, resting all to ourselves. It's just amazing. You're not going to get that at the zoo. This is very memorable.
And then how many days would you say are enough to do the safari in Kenya? How many days would be the minimum that you would recommend for a trip?
I would say the 5 nights we did was a good amount for us to adjust a little bit in the beginning and then see the different animals that you want to see, because every day it's something different. You can't control the animals. You don't know what they're doing. However, if you are looking to go in to see the migration, that's a little different story. Maybe you might want to give yourself more time for that if that is your key. For us, we went in June, and it was before the migration season, so we were open to seeing anything that's out there.
Yeah, the Great Migration is really something that I'd like to witness someday. And it's continuous, right? So the season for the Great Migration really more varies on where to catch it. So maybe you can only travel during summer. So you want to look up where the Great Migration, you know, where the herds will be, which country to catch them there. Or if you have a specific destination, like say, for example, you want to go to Kenya. So when does the Great Migration go through there? And then plan your trip around those dates. And yeah, you might need more time because it's not something that is scheduled. It's not like the wildebeest are going to be like, it's time to go. I mean, this is based off of weather patterns, and this is why they're moving, right? They're moving for food.
I would say 5 nights is also enough in the sense that you are out there in the wild. So when you're sleeping, if you don't bring earplugs, you will hear hippos making their sounds walking by your tent. And you do have different insects that's around, and they can get into your tent. And Mitch might be scared, but there are monkeys too, and they can get into your tent as well, which happened to us.
Oh, wow.
A faulty zipper, and the monkeys got in. We came back and we saw food scraps everywhere. So be prepared.
So Mitch is out of this one.
You got bush planes, you got monkeys.
So many problems here. So we got a faulty zipper on the tent. Are you sure it was a faulty zipper, or the monkey just wasn't smart and knew how to open that tent?
It was a faulty zipper according to the camp manager, because they claimed they changed the zipper later and it didn't happen anymore. So maybe it was the zipper.
Wait. I'm a little bit confused. Was it like a wild monkey or your monkey that you're talking about?
good one. Wild monkeys. So 5 nights in terms of going into the bush toilet. There's only so many times you can do that before you're like, okay, I do want to go back to civilization.
Yeah, so that's my other question is, am I sharing this bush toilet with a lion too? I mean, who do I got to use this toilet with? Is it my own exclusive bush toilet or do I have to share this toilet?
You're sharing this toilet. This is just out there in whatever random place that the driver finds for you. So watch out. But it's safe. The driver will find a spot that they tell you to go and you go there. But it is a little scary because there still are spiders that's crawling around you in spider webs. When researching the safari lodges, you should look out for the tents where they have plumbing showers or bucket showers. Bucket showers meaning that you have to let the staff know in advance that you want to take a shower so they can bring hot water for you. And your shower is only limited up to about 5 minutes. I can't do bucket showers, so that was a feature I look for specifically for plum showers.
Mitch, it seems like you have experience with 5-minute showers. Isn't that what they give you on Emirates First Class?
I don't know if these are the exact same type of shower.
At least the timing. You have experience with a short shower, right?
Yeah, you got to be quick.
These are all out there in a tent. It's just a tent setup. There is no walls, nothing. So you hear everything outside you. Even if someone's walking by, you will hear that.
I'm learning so much from you, Elena. So far I've pay $15 to feed the same giraffes from the Giraffe Manor. Book a safari on private land. Right? Mm-hmm. Because then you can off-road and look for plumbing shower. I also can't do a bucket shower. Mm-hmm. So plumbing is important. I'm so glad you mentioned this. And I'm also really glad that you mentioned how you went in June. It wasn't during Great Migration time, but you got to experience all these amazing natural events with these animals. It really goes to show that I don't have to plan my trip around Great Migration time. It's okay to go at a different time of the year. You're still going to get a great experience. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out.
I think another benefit to not going during Great Migration is probably lower crowds. I know Mitch is not a fan of crowds. I'm not either. But if you go during Great Migration, you're probably competing with a lot more people for this lodging and prices will be higher. So going when it's not the Great Migration has its benefits as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. Less crowds. The rates are a little cheaper going in June versus July. It jumps significantly during peak season.
Can we talk about costs now? How much did you pay for the safari lodge?
When I say the number, don't freak out. Safari really is something to be good to experience. It includes everything. For us, for the 5 nights, for the 3 of us, it was about $9,000. So in terms of comparing to the Mahali with the 320,000 points for 2 nights and $950 per night, this definitely made more sense for us.
Elena, I loved my safari experience that I had. One of the unique things that I did in Uganda is I was able to do a horseback safari, and that was through a private lodge as well. But one of the unique things that I think might be available in Kenya is a hot air balloon safari. That is something on my bucket list. I know that's a little pricey. Is Kenya somewhere where I could do this hot air balloon safari? Was that something you saw out there?
Yes, you can do a hot air balloon that can be arranged through the lodge. At that time, it was about $500 per person, and you do wake up significantly earlier, I believe around 4 a.m. You go out there. So for us, we pass on that due to the cost and due to the early wake up time.
Yeah. So I guess you saw the same animals, right? From the ground that you would have seen from the air, just like you fed the same giraffe.
So from the hot air balloon, you're actually farther away from the animals. So you might not even see as much close up action. It would be just more for the experience. And we just did a hot air balloon at that time in Morocco. So we didn't need another one.
Elena, does this lodge have a minimum age requirement for children? I know some of these safari lodges do require a minimum age.
A lot of the properties, some might even be no children allowed. Some start at age 5, some start at age 6, 7, and it just ranges from there. When my daughter went, she was 7 years old, so she was able to stay at this lodge. Something to just look out for if they welcome kids and accept kids. In this case, for Offbeat Nadoto, they were very friendly. They always talk to Monkey and customize the kid meals. That's one thing to look out for is she's not following the same meals that we were eating, she can pick spaghetti, chicken nuggets, whatever it is, the chef will make it for her. She can have seconds and you won't go hungry here.
And she got a private game drive.
She loved it.
Chicken nuggets, the universal kids meal.
So I think earlier you mentioned something about the food not being great. Is that what you said?
I would say you're not going to Masamara for a food experience. The food is decent. It's not horrible. Some of the food was better. They do cater to the international guests with international cuisines. There's risotto or steak. Then they have simple stuff for the lunch like pizza, little sliders. It really is just all about the experience. In terms of bush breakfast, they'll custom make your eggs what you want. So they'll cook it, they'll pack it. And then after a mini green drive, the driver sets up the tables out there. They'll find a good spot and you'll have your omelets, your fruits, yogurt, pastries.
Elena, I agree. When I went to Uganda, the food wasn't the best, but I wasn't there for the food. This is not a place for foodies. You're going there for what you can find in no other continent, really, as far as the Big Five and all these safaris and just being out there in nature. I don't have a lot of memorable dishes. I remember maybe one, which it was my favorite. And I remember because I was like, okay, I found something that I actually enjoyed. Do not go for the food, go for the experience. As far as you mentioned that you were vegetarian. Did you find that it was any harder, or did the lodge cater to, special diets?
The lodge catered to special diets. They are very accommodating. I had my own vegetarian meal at every meal, the lunch and the dinner. It was all pretty good, not amazing, but they can customize and they'll ask you every day. The camp manager will talk to you like, how's the food? Do you want something else? Is there anything else that the chef can make? Sometimes the chef comes out too and talks to you directly and asks you what you want, at least for this lodge.
All right, Elena, you did mention to not let it freak me out when you mentioned the $9,000 cost that comes along with this. But for a minute, I was a little freaked out. And then I put on my points and miles hat and I started thinking, there's other ways that I can work with this $9,000. I can do bank bonuses. I can get new credit cards and sign up for new sign-up bonuses. What advice do you have for helping with that $9,000 spend?
Yes, for us personally, I prepared by looking at what kind of sign-up bonus was good out there so I can at least earn points for the $9,000 cash fare. I know it's a lot, but I also earn a lot of points, which can supplement for my future trips, or even the points that I use for Nairobi Hyatt Regency, for example. Even though it is a high cash price, it is including everything. So it's similar to a cruise, right? You have all the activities, all the food, the conservation fees are included, all inclusive. So you don't have to worry about anything.
I think that's a good point that you brought up about the food, because obviously my other out-of-pocket expenses are kind of limited, right? Because everything is pretty much covered.
I don't think that price is bad at all. So $9,000 for 3 people for 5 nights at all inclusive, and you're getting these one in a lifetime experiences. They should be once in a lifetime experiences, but when you use points and miles for travel, you can go back again. So it's okay. It's not once in a lifetime. I can go back. We can do it more than once when using points and miles.
That's my goal, to try to do a safari in a different country every year. We're going to South Africa for this summer to check out how that is there.
If you don't want to pay cash, there are some points properties available to you, and we'll cover those right here. So starting in Nairobi with Hyatt, there's a Hyatt Regency where Elena stayed, and that goes for the standard rate of 8,000 points per night. There's a Hyatt Place in the Hyatt House for 5,000 points per night. For Hilton, there are brands ranging from 25,000 to 40,000 points per night. There's also an SLH called the Hemingway's Nairobi that goes for 100,000 points per night. For IHG, there are a few properties starting at 20,000 points per night. And then I'm ending with Marriott because there are a lot of Marriott properties in Kenya. Multiple brands starting at 20,000 points per night, and there are also very popular safari options. The JW Marriott Masai Mara Lodge starts at 200,000 points per night, and the Ritz-Carlton Masai Mara Safari Camp starts at 280,000 points per night. So Definitely take advantage of Marriott's 5th night free if you're going to plan to use points for these stays. Also, in 2026, this is not in Kenya, but close enough, in Tanzania, the JW Marriott Serengeti Lodge will be opening. Now, we haven't talked about this hotel brand, but the Virgin Limited Edition is a collection of hotels, and there are only a handful of them around the world. There are 2 properties in Kenya, and one of them is the one that Elena mentioned earlier. The Mahali, Missouri starts at 165,000 points per night, and the Finch Hattons starts at 125,000 points per night. So with Virgin, you want to take advantage of transfer bonuses, especially if you want to book these. You'll book these properties using Virgin Red Points, which is easy to link to a Virgin Atlantic account. Also for families, if you want to have 4 adults in a room, at the Hyatt Regency Nairobi Westlands, you can book a suite for only 13,000 points per night. And for the Points Safari Lodges, as Elena mentioned earlier, you're likely going to have to pay an extra fee if you're going to bring a 3rd and 4th guest, like your children. Elena, you've shared so many tips with us already. Do you have any other tips for us as we're planning a trip to Kenya?
I want to mention that if you are in Nairobi and you're doing some of the activities like the Seldrick Wildlife Elephants, bring bills that are 2013 and newer. For us, somehow I thought it was 2009 bills. So my bills were 2009 and I never felt poor like that because they didn't want my bill.
Oh.
They were looking at it because they're very strict with the bank. You have to bring new bills if you're going to use cash for anything. For Kenya, they accept US dollar bills pretty much at a lot of places. And for Nairobi, the main places like the hotel would take credit cards. So really, we didn't need to use any ATM machines to get the Kenyan shilling. However, one thing to know is that we took one time an Uber from the Wilson airport to the Nairobi airport, and the Uber driver was asking us if we had any cash with us. It turns out that you have to pay for the parking to leave, and we did not have any Kenyan shilling. So we actually sat in the car while he went around begging other drivers to get a little bit of cash so he can pay the parking fee to leave. So I would recommend booking an actual private transfer instead of the Uber in that scenario so you can avoid that. For Kenya, it is not required to get the yellow fever vaccine, so we did not. It is also not required to bring malaria pills. We didn't want to try that out because I know there are side effects. So for what we did is we sprayed all our clothes ahead of time with insect repellent and brought that along with us instead. We bought mosquito repellent bands, and the driver did look at us a little crazy, like there are no mosquitoes here, but we were being precautious, so we brought all that. Be prepared for the cold weather in the mornings. It can get very chilly depending on the season you're going. For us in June, it is winter over there still, and it is cold in the morning and cold at night. So bring layers, bring a scarf. What I got was an insect repellent scarf that really helped to keep me warm and do double duty of preventing insect bites. So as I mentioned earlier, you are out in the bush toilet, so do bring wipes with you and bring toilet paper if you need it and little trash bags. That would help a lot. Dress in layers, bring sunscreen. The sun is strong. You are out in an open vehicle and the sun can get to you during the afternoon. Obviously, hats and everything that you need. Wrapping up after the safari, I do want to mention that you should be prepared for the Nairobi airport. There are extra security checks. So when you are in the car going, you actually have to get out the car, go through the security, get back in the car, continue on. When you get to the airport, right away, there was a security guy came up to us right away asking us our flight. So have your flight documents printed, ready to show him, and then he lets you go. And then you got dogs sniffing through your luggages. And one important thing is if your flight is late, which a lot of flights are going to be late, I would recommend booking a daytime rate hotel versus going to the airport because there is nothing at the airport. And I mean nothing. The guy said, you don't want to come in here. There's nothing in here. You can only check in 3 hours in advance, so you don't even want to go in anytime earlier. So for us, we were stuck. There was only one cafe outside the airport, and we hung out there until we could check in.
A couple other things that I want to suggest for your packing list is a power bank, because you might not have access to power. The electricity might go out, so a power bank is probably good. And one other thing, aside from insect repellent, some people like Mitch might want to look for monkey repellent.
I forgot to bring binoculars. Not all lodges provide binoculars, so bring your own if you want to get that good view.
I've got so many tips I've written down here, and I'm just working on my toilet paper because I'm a Charmin type of guy. So I want to make sure that I bring the right 2-ply toilet paper as well. Tonight, we have taken you to Kenya using points and miles, and we want to know, have you been? And if so, how did you do it? And if you did, what of the big 5 did you see? Let us know your best tips for heading on safaris or your trip in the comments below. Just drop us one right now. Elena, it has been great having you here on the show tonight. How can people find you?
Thank you for having me here tonight. You can find me at Monkey Family Adventures. I am on Instagram and on YouTube. On my Instagram account, you will find me sharing stories about my financial independence, tips about early retirement, what to look out for in terms of investments. You will find travel tips, family travel tips, different deals. Since we're not working anymore, I like to maximize different grocery savings, various savings. You'll find that on my account.
And we find the good monkey, right? The monkey that I like.
Yes, she is on there.
She's a cutie.
Adorable. That's it for now. I want to thank all of our hosts. It's Serena.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Miguel.
Later.
And thank you for joining us, Elena. We loved having you here tonight.
Bye.
And I'm Mitch Hanna. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. Just snap the QR code right now on your screen for the latest and everything going on in the points and miles world. We're back again next week with another new show. We've got kilts, castles, and something, Miguel, I think you're going to love, maybe Scotch whiskey, as we go to Scotland with Michelle from Free Fam Travels. Thank you for watching and listening.
Later. It's because I did the wrong one over here.
Elena, you did so great. So great. Thank you.
I can breathe.
You were amazing.
Thank you.
Let's get to the points.com.